Hello, welcome on my channel. Today you're here to hear about what you can do if telekinesis isn't working out for you so far. So maybe you have been trying for a while, maybe training, practicing for a few days or few weeks or maybe even months, and it just doesn't seem to bring the results you were expecting to have. First of all, I feel like we have to address the expectation. I feel like having the specific expectation you have right now in your mind is exactly something that might be keeping you blocked from attaining this result. I probably spoke about it tens of times so far, but I truly believe that telekinesis is not the result. Telekinesis is not the moving object. Telekinesis is more about connecting to the object. So I feel like the first focus of yours when it comes to telekinesis should be connecting to an object and connecting to the process of it rather than attaining the specific result you have in your mind when it comes to telekinesis. I feel like, second of all, we have this very huge expectation of telekinesis to be something impressive, to be something that would to make someone fall off their feet when they see it. And I feel like it's quite an unrealistic expectation for a beginner, especially. I feel like a lot of people go into this practice expecting a huge result and they get very disappointed when they see something very small or something very doubtful or sometimes nothing. So, as much as it is fun and exciting to go into telekinesis and expect to move remotes and close and open doors and of course switch that light when you're too lazy to go and switch it, it is quite an unrealistic expectation, don't you think so? It's like going to paint and expecting yourself to be a pro painter right away. And honestly, if I have to be 100% honest with you, I feel quite disappointed in the telekinesis community and in the way that telekinesis is portrayed by most people. I feel like there's so much beauty that can be found in just the process of telekinesis. And I'm happy to sometimes come across people that actually see the point of it and they talk to me about how telekinesis is actually just a beautiful meditation practice, which I feel like is so often misunderstood and overlooked. And on my channel, ideally, I would like to spread the idea of how beautiful the practice of telekinesis can actually be if you connect to it without expectations and without this unrealistic idea spread in the media. I feel like the point of telekinesis, which is connection to something physical, empathy towards something, deserves so much more recognition than just an effect of it, which is moving or controlling or manipulating. And I hope people one day will be able to see it. So I hope that maybe this approach will be more helpful for you when it comes to telekinesis. Try to have less expectations. Try to let go of this impressive idea of telekinesis where something amazing or groundbreaking happens, or you're playing a role of a superhero or a TV show character. Because most importantly, telekinesis is meditation. Have you ever tried meditation? Have you ever tried to quiet your mind and be in this state of consciousness? Have you? It is a very popular practice to do meditation before you do telekinesis. But personally, I believe that telekinesis is a whole meditation itself. I mean, how couldn't collective consciousness of all material stuff around us a meditation? But that's why I also believe that for some people, meditating before telekinesis could be an amazing practice. Because first of all, who doesn't want to get rid of those overwhelming thoughts while you're practicing it? Like, is it real? Can I actually do it? Am I capable? Maybe this just isn't possible. What am I doing with my life? I believe meditation can be absolutely helpful with this kind of flow of thoughts while you're practicing telekinesis. Not only that, but because telekinesis is a meditation itself, meditating beforehand will help you tune into this practice more. It's like a little preparation. I personally don't meditate before doing telekinesis because I simply already treat telekinesis as a meditation. But I feel like for most of you, it might be really helpful to tune into this mindset before practicing, and that may be helpful for you to start from a right point of entrance. Now you might ask, what kind of meditation should I do? Or maybe even how to meditate. Listen, it can be as simple as sitting down and making your mind quiet, meaning being more aware about the thoughts that are floating in, so that you are also more aware of them when you're practicing telekinesis, because it is really easy to be affected by thoughts while you're meditating. You can be practicing telekinesis and not even notice the little doubt and hesitation coming into your mind while you're practicing. So it might be really helpful for you to difference those thoughts and separate them from your practice. Second of all, in that kind of meditation, before doing telekinesis, I really recommend you focusing and becoming more aware of your own physical environment and yourself. Because after all, telekinesis is working with a physical reality around you. It's working in the present moment. And if you're not focused on the present moment and you're not focused on physicality of things, it will be hard for you. And that's why many people are really tuned into their mind and their thoughts floating in while practicing telekinesis. And that might be more distracting than you can imagine. But most importantly, your thoughts can also play a very important role in this practice. So while meditating beforehand, why not set your mind up for this practice in a positive note? Why instead of doubts, not put an intention into positive affirmations? So in this kind of meditation before practicing, you can also affirm to yourself the type of things like, I can do it, I'm capable of it, I'm connected to myself and environment. Going back to physicality of things, how you can go about it is basically focus on your physical body, okay? You can focus on the things that are going on in your body, of the sensation, how do you feel, how does your body feel? Second of all, most important thing you can do is ask yourself, where am I? Consciously ask yourself, where am I? And then bring that awareness to where actually are you. Are you in the room? Where are you? Look around. Feel the environment around you. Be exactly present where you are right now. That exactly is being in the present moment. And this will really help you in the practice of telekinesis to be connected to the physicality of things, because so many of us people are so focused on what is going on within ourselves internally, in our minds, in our hearts, that we forget about the reality around us, about the present moment playing out just in front of our eyes. But we are blind to it because we're so in tune with overthinking and letting our minds control our reality. So bring yourself to that present moment. I hope that meditating in the way I just proposed to you will be helpful for you. And along with it, let's talk about how your thoughts affect your practice. Now, can you please, for me, focus a little bit for a second and think about what are you thinking when you're practicing? Can you recall it? Can you recall what kind of thoughts are going on through your mind? Maybe there is a certain doubt, maybe there's a certain negative talk going on. I'm not gonna tell you forget about it and don't think those negative things, but what I can tell you is maybe try to reflect why those things are there. Why certain doubts, why certain negative talk is there. Is it because you don't feel capable enough? Is it because you don't feel worthy enough? Or is it because you have a certain doubts related to a practice itself? Or maybe it's completely something different from what I'm talking about right now. Either way, I feel like it is still worth reflecting upon. There is a very big correlation between how we think and how it reflects on reality in our actions. Telekinesis is known as something done by the power of your mind, right? But if your mind is constantly preoccupied, doubting and hesitating, how are you really supposed to do that with the power of your mind, right? If your mind falls for every hesitation and trap of doubt, how can that happen? So it's worth acknowledging what kind of thoughts are going on in your mind, along with what beliefs are attached to it. If you're having an issue with the practice itself and maybe you don't feel like it is real, you can try one of my techniques for a mindset. But I'm gonna tell you now, in short, just try to play an explorer, okay? Try to just see what happens. Going into telekinesis, you don't have to suddenly become someone who blindly believes in something. You can just simply experiment, just as a scientist would. Why not go into this practice with a mind of exploration and curiosity and be like, let's see if it works? Why all the self-judgment about yourself? Why be like, am I stupid in doing this? It's totally okay to experiment, it's totally okay to try out things and be open-minded about them, and it doesn't make you stupid or silly for doing that. So you don't have to judge yourself for that. And hey, maybe it is an opportunity for you to reflect on where this self-judgment is coming from, right? Most importantly, if telekinesis is not working out for you right now, think about what you're doing, how you're doing it, how you're practicing. Because I bet 70% at least of why it isn't working out is within your practice. But because it's such an individual practice, it's so hard to say what exactly might be wrong. But I have two most important causes why it might be not working out for you. First of all, are you practicing within the same way every time? Maybe you're using constantly the same object in the same place, in the same way, in the same technique. I highly recommend you to switch them between practices. Personally, for me, I saw the most progress when I started switching out between practices and techniques. It was opening up my mind and making me learn more from the practice. So I recommend you going out of your comfort zone and actually sitting down and learning to do new technique. If you're using a spinning wheel, why not try just a foil, just like I do in my videos? Or why not try a different object, right? Second of all, on the other hand, if you're practicing in a very different ways every time, I think like it's time for you to switch to the one thing. I feel like a person who would switch a lot between practices might be a certain correlation to expectations and this hyper switching, It feels to me that some of you that are practicing all the time on the different things do not have actually time to engage in something, and you just look towards that one specific expectation, which is of course for object to move. But as I already said, it cannot happen if you keep being focused on the expectation of it and the constant impatience of it. Switching around all the time techniques and objects and how you do it will not help you achieve it if it doesn't work already. So why not just stick to one thing for a couple of times and really focus on actually doing it? Techniques will not help you until you actually put your mind to it. Try to get to know one practice and one technique or one object that you're using first before you switch to another. There's no way into knowing if something works if you keep changing and switching it around. Another so important thing when it comes to making telekinesis work is very related to the one I just talked about. It's switching perspectives, switching point of views. I feel like so many of you, telekinesis community, is so focused on this one idea of telekinesis, one technique of a telekinesis, one perspective of looking at telekinesis. But telekinesis is so much more than just one thing. So try to see how differently you can see it. How are you viewing telekinesis? How are you approaching it? Change your approach. If it doesn't work out, try as many times and change around the perception you have of it. It's easy to be stuck. It's easy to be in that stagnant point of view on it. It's easy to be stuck on this one point where you don't know how to keep going and you don't know why it isn't working. But usually, most of the time, it's just stagnancy in thinking, a lack of certain open-mindedness about the practice. So with that, I also advise you to take a break. funny enough, I feel like taking a break from telekinesis can bring so much objectiveness and open-mindedness. I feel like it's totally underrated. So if you haven't tried that yet, maybe it's time to stop trying to hold on to it too much and take a break, kindly. Usually when we are focused on something so deeply that isn't working out, it doesn't work most of the time. It's when we take a step back that we gain a more fresher point of view, and then we are able to approach it from a better direction. Nothing has ever helped me as much as taking a step back, taking a break for a few weeks, and then going back with a fresh mindset. It usually helped me see so much and understand so much more about the practice. Let's just say it was very refreshing. My last advice for you is maybe telekinesis isn't for you if it doesn't work out for you. And by that, wait a minute, I don't mean you shouldn't do it. What I mean is that maybe you should try something else first. As someone who was practicing for telekinesis and it hasn't been working out as much, I switched to aerokinesis. If you don't know what aerokinesis is, it's basically telekinesis but on wind. So basically, you can manipulate, in quotes, air particles and wind generally. And that for me was a very great entrance. Because first of all, if you're worried that when you're doing telekinesis there is wind and you doubt it, how can you really doubt it while doing aerokinesis, which is all about wind? It's so much easier for the brain to adapt to the idea of manipulating wind because it's just way more realistic for our brains. Way easier to adapt to. And also so much easier to do. Connecting to wind may be so much easier for you than connecting to telekinesis, where we don't actually see this force that we're working with. But with wind, it's easy for you to connect. It's easy for you to know that this force is wind, it's air. We breathe it, we move through it, we see it almost on a daily basis. And hey, we can make it. Of course, there's more telekinesis practices, but I believe aerokinesis is best for beginners. So maybe if you're a beginner who struggles with telekinesis, maybe aerokinesis might be a better fit for you at this time. So why not give it a try? So I hope it was helpful for you. I hope it brought some clarity. And let me know in the comments down below what do you think and what other topics do you want me to discuss in my next videos. I'll see you in my next video.